What, in your words, is AI?
Well, I would, simply put, from a definition perspective, all AI is a tool that
The big distinction between AI and other forms of automation is that AI has reasoning.
I think that's table stakes now. With China coming in with DeepSeek, there needs to be some type of governance and some type of measurement so you can have a human touch. That is going to be the arms race in the future.
The company's interested, but AI doesn't exist yet. What steps should they take?
I typically break these things out into three themes: people, process, and the third one's technology.
Who do you think is an example of a person or company doing AI really well?
That's interesting.
Welcome to Knowledge Company Now, an interview series with experts in data analytics, AI, and experimentation. Over the course of the series, we explore what it means to be a knowledge-driven organization. My name is NATHANIEL, and I'm excited to welcome you on this journey. Our first guest is really someone special. His name is Achille Ettorre. He's not only a mastermind behind the analytics programs at some of the largest companies, including Disney and Loblaws, the largest retailer in Canada, he's also a friend of the show. As we engage in this conversation, I hope you find it just as insightful as I did. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the conversation. I want to start with a question from your TEDx talk that I've been dying to ask you. For viewers who have never heard of it before, what is a big turtle?
Listen, this was a long time ago, Nathaniel, and it's interesting how much that question's come up since my TEDx talk. I'll share with you this. It was in my elementary years. I really enjoyed mathematics. I was always very strong with numbers and really enjoyed math. And there was an enrichment program. And at that time, IBM came up with a program. I think it was Lotus. I think it was 123 or Lotus 1, first generation. And I got selected to go out and learn how to program a turtle. And it's amazing because I believe I was there no longer than a week. It was definitely the majority of the week. And we'd start our day and end the day. And it actually took a couple days to learn the programming to make it go a certain distance. It was even harder to make it do a circle. But by the end of the week, we're all, I'll say, professionals or proficient in programming that turtle. That was, I tell you, my start.
The turtle, if I understand, is a robot that sits on the floor and can basically draw shapes just depending on how you program it. That had to have been mind-blowing, to go to IBM as an elementary school student and get to tinker with robots.
That's exactly it.
Achille, you've had quite a few accolades. You're a member of the advisory board for the Smith School of Business's Masters of Management and Artificial Intelligence program at Queen's University. As of last November, you've become a board member for the Harvard Business Review. You were an advisory associate to the International Institute for Analytics, founded by Tom Davenport and Jack Phillips. You're a TEDx speaker and author of The Digital Advantage: Success Strategies for Harnessing People, Culture, and Technology. I'm just curious to know, are there moments from your career that were particularly memorable?
It's a loaded question there, Nathaniel. I can tell you this, in terms of defining moments in my career, I truly believe out of when I finished school, when I finished university and I landed my first job at Fanuc Robotics, I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. I was in a manufacturing environment, and learning how robotic arms are programmed, and me being of a finance background, was something that really intrigued me. I actually won a President's Award on doing a programming event in a Honda plant here in Alliston, Ontario. I was so amazed at how robots were actually able to take routine tasks and automate them. So that was the first. The second would be working in supply chain, and this is where I fell into this line of work or this industry, working specifically with Walmart Canada and understanding the different automation systems within the distribution centers and how distribution centers actually work. I learned a tremendous amount working from people all across the world, specifically directly within Bentonville, on how to maximize efficiencies within the network.
It's interesting. You start with a background in finance, but you clearly had an interest in mathematics and robotics from your early years. You find yourself in an industry where you are working with automation and robotics, with supply chains, and then you become exposed to data in the process. It almost sounds natural, the way you describe it, then going on to your work with Loblaw, with Walmart, doing loyalty programs and analytics. Did these transitions feel natural to you?
Yeah, I would say it was almost done. If when I look back, it was done in such a way where I just kind of grew into where I am today. But the next defining moment, I would say, would be working with Loblaw companies, where I'd literally just finished my master's program, and I remember being put into a room to discuss my next project, which was, being part of a acquisitions team to make one of the biggest acquisitions that Canada's ever seen. And we, I would tell you that big data, or the use of data, was kind of formalized on that day for me. And that's, that would be my start. And from there, it evolved to a tremendous amount of different things, working with a lot of industry leaders, working with people that are more passionate about it than I am. And I've spent a number of years kind of curating that skill set and continuing to evolve as the industry evolved. Today, we talk about AI. A lot of the science, though, Nathaniel, that's involved in the problems that we solve are solving, they're the same. I mean, AI has been around since the 1950s, and it's just now getting in or embedded or getting into mainstream operations within all businesses across the world.
Listening to your TEDx talk, one of the themes that really impressed me was that AI can help people build a better life. You qualify that further by sharing that AI helped you strike a balance between having a demanding career and also taking on the demanding role of being a father, being a spouse, being a family member. You also have an interesting experience in data analytics, witnessing technologies develop, and now you're a top LinkedIn voice on the subject of AI. For someone who hasn't followed AI closely, what, in your words, is AI?
Well, I would, simply put, from a definition perspective, all AI is a tool, and it's a tool that takes repetitive tasks, mundane tasks, and automates them. It literally takes a process that requires a lot of human capital or a lot of labor, and places a system, a program, a process within a model to automate whatever that task is. And AI is able to do it at scale.
I think that's an interesting place to begin with AI. Taking a task that I, as a human, would have to do manually and just making it so that a piece of technology would do it instead, and at scale. But to me, the big distinction between AI and other forms of automation is that AI has reasoning and logic capabilities. Its creators are pushing the boundaries of its ability to synthesize and create new ideas. So, my question is, would you agree? And what would you say are the defining moments in the evolution of AI?
Well, listen, all of us have heard of ChatGPT, and all of us have, I hope have at least experimented with it. And I would suggest that, just at the start of ChatGPT, when it was released, a few years back, it's evolved tremendously over the past few years. And it can do all the typical reasoning that would literally take a human hours, if not days, to get to some type of situation or area where they can make an informed decision. I think that's table stakes now, with China coming in with DeepSeek and with all these other models that are going to surface over time. These models are only going to get better. And I would say to you, will they work better than a human? Probably. Will they enhance our work? I think so. But in that same breath, there needs to be some type of governance and some type of measurement, so you can have a human touch, so that biases don't come into these reasoning models or decision-making processes. And that is going to be the arms race in the future. More than that, I would say to you, where we are today, with my company alone, I can tell you that, we've created an AI agent that actually does interviews by working with a company called Bluebell. And what that does is it literally takes 800 resumes or 1,000 resumes for a particular job description, where I provide the criteria, the human, and it will pick and rank based on what I provide as a team to say that these are the type of peoples and skill set that I want in my business. And it will give me the top 20 resumes. And then I only need to meet, 2 or 3 people to build my team. And the people part of it is significant because it literally gives me the opportunity to hire A players, but players that are not as strong, it literally lifts them up. And that lifts the entire performance of the whole organization. And that's one example. I can definitely go into more, but I hope that answers the question in terms of where we're at today. And again, I only see this getting better over time.
Your hiring example brings up an interesting point. Everybody, I think, is at a different point in their journey with AI. For some people, it might just be using a chatbot in their daily life to help them with fairly common tasks like drafting an email or getting answers to a research question. Other people might be piloting an AI adoption at a smaller scale in their organization. I think of it as like a small team, maybe just exploring a chatbot, maybe exploring another tool. But they're looking for ways to use that tool to bolster their work or their processes. Then there's a little bit more of what I heard you describe, which is that you have, and please correct me, you've developed your own AI application. In this case, your application is ranking resumes for job applicants to help you save time and hopefully find an optimal candidate for your hiring.
That's a live example. I worked with a company to build that agent out, and I can definitely share it with the team. And it's done a phenomenal job in saving a tremendous amount of time for myself. And this is for my family business, where I don't need to sift through a whole bunch of different resumes and try and pick the right one. I can literally have an AI tool do that heavy lifting for me. So then I can meet the people, interview them, and make the best decision for our company.
That's astounding. So, yes, perfect example of a tailored AI application and everything that goes with that. User interface, software development to make your interaction with the model, something you can actually do. The last example of AI that I see is at larger enterprise scale. The question of how can we, as a large and in many cases global company, use AI across teams, maybe even breaking divisions and unifying teams. Achille, you have extensive experience in enterprise. I would be kind of curious to ask, when we talk about AI and enterprise, how are you seeing AI being rolled out?
It varies, Nathaniel, based on the maturity level of the organization. So, we can certainly see how Google, Amazon, Apple, and all these types of organizations are at a more advanced level. But I'm working with a client right now, and, they're looking to automate the drive-through experience with an AI agent. And if you think about that, yes, it is taking someone's job with respect to taking an order, but the goal is to standardize the orders so that they can handle more volume and do more work. And then the work gets reassigned to actually procuring or, quite frankly, getting the order ready. Right now, it's with a coffee. It's a coffee. So let's say it's a coffee company, and they're handling about 800 to 1,000, anywhere from 800 to 1,000 orders a day, and by implementing this tool, they're looking at minimizing the error rate or the shrinkage rate from like 10% to like 5%. And that's a significant amount of money that's saved, but it's also a significant amount of investment that you can make in your people to either procure and do that type of work or reassign them to different parts of the business.
With this example of having AI help in collecting orders, and then what I imagine might be an existing analytics program, so things like looking at customer preferences, looking at order history, understanding really what drives value for the customers. Do you see an interplay between existing analytics, meaning the things that people are already doing, and then the things that people want AI to be helping them accomplish?
Well, listen, in my experience, there are larger retailers out there that really design their loyalty programs to help manage that type of behavior. And, the automation or the analytics or the AI is a tool that gives the retailer the ability to understand not only the customer behavior by geographic, but it can make you understand what the banner purchasing behavior is. And so, quite literally, you're able to understand that if your customer journey is online, you're going to develop a different fabric or a different offering in order for that customer to order, process whatever it is that they want within your company. But there are customers that want to come into a particular location and they like the bricks and mortar. And those types of individuals are probably prone to different types of offerings or different types of experiences. And the AI, which is what we call it today, and the data that's collected allows these larger organizations to provide that information at a geographical level that was never have been able to be provided before, and they're able to make adjustments on the go or more real time than week to week.
Part of my background is doing user experience design. And something that we talk about in user experience is that different types of people might want different experiences. So, yeah, you might be totally correct in saying, okay, somebody wants to go on their phone, open an app, order a coffee, and they might want to pick it up at a curbside parking spot. Other people might still enjoy the experience of walking inside a brick and mortar shop, having a personal interaction with their barista that they see every week, and ultimately getting their coffee that way. It sounds to me as though being able to take those geographical preferences and those consumer preferences and being able to help the product creators or the experience creators, AI could actually have a lot of value in that. For one thing, the people who are defining the customer experience or the product might not actually have to collect the data themselves. It's already being provided by AI. It could be also that AI is helping them to create a stronger product, a much stronger experience in that data collection aspect. It could also reduce the delay between when the product is actually informed by the customer's reaction and when the customer is actually having that reaction. So we don't necessarily need to approach somebody who is talking with a customer and try to extract from them the knowledge that they have. I think also that in this way, AI might give us more accuracy in what it is able to communicate from, let's say, an interaction with a customer.
Well, listen, I'll build upon your comment there. And one more thing that would help that UX experience is other customers. And I look at my children. I mean, they'll Uber their Starbucks to the house, and I'm looking at them, and it's like, in my time, we would never do such a thing. And yes, they're paying a premium for it. But if you think about it, they're not the only ones. There is a huge demographic that literally Ubers anything to their home, from a coffee to groceries. And it's not just Uber, it's Instacart. There are different other companies that do this. But that last mile has changed over the course of time. And again, tools like AI give you the leverage or the competitive advantage, not only to procure such things, but also understand the demographics, so you're able to deliver that AI time and time again.
So we aren't just talking about chatbots. We're not just talking about software as a service applications. What we're really talking about are businesses and companies that are taking a very meaningful and deliberate approach to how they use AI to automate some part of their business. My question for you is very much this. Let's say that you're working at a company and it's interested in piloting some sort of project using AI, perhaps delivering significant customer value, or perhaps taking care of something else that needs to get done within the business or its processes. The company's interested, but AI doesn't exist yet. What steps should they take?
These are good questions, Nathaniel. I'm gonna point to a little bit of what I've written in my book with respect to execution of these types of programs and projects. In that instance, and what you said, or any other instance, I typically break these things out into three themes. And the first one's people, the second one's process, and the third one's technology. And when I talk about this, depending on where you are at your journey, you're going to have to invest in processes to understand them and make sure you know what it is that you're doing. Because if you're going to automate something or put it to scale, those things need to be refined and defined. Your people need to be in a situation where they understand what it is that they're doing if you're purchasing some type of technology to manifest or deliver whatever it is that you want to solve. And I would say that there's no particular order, but in my experience, it's been, you start with the process to get a gauge on where you're currently at and what you want to deliver. Then you look at your people to see where they're at. And technology is not last by design, but at least you can make a concerted effort if you need to buy something vanilla or you need to go with a Cadillac. or you need actually any type of customization. And along the way, the more you keep things standardized, the better it is. But that doesn't fully answer your question. If AI is not in the boardroom or is not part of the strategy of your particular organization, large or small, doing something like this is next to impossible, because you definitely need senior leadership sponsorship and approval so that the journey is one that everyone understands. It's not a success rate that you're starting something and it's going to be done. There's going to be pitfalls. There's going to be things that go wrong. There's going to be failures, but you fail fast, and then you learn how you want to proceed moving forward. And that's where I go back to my 3 pillars on people, process, and technology. These are not things that you can just prescribe and pull out of a box. You actually have to go in and do the work. But if you do the work from the beginning and invest the time, your AI project will be delivered very successfully. If you try and skip some steps or try and save some funding, more likely than not, there'll be some hiccups along the way.
Right. So that is a good point. We don't want to just necessarily rush ahead. We do need to make sure that we have those foundational pieces in place before we take a substantial step on an AI project. I guess I would just like to ask, I wonder if there are people who are feeling maybe that they are lagging a little bit behind where others are in terms of their progress with AI. Is it more important for businesses to ensure that their people and culture are right as the first step? Or is it more important to move fast, so to speak, to harness the new technology? There is kind of an argument that says, okay, if we adopt move fast as a mentality, it can create a culture of its own. On the other hand, I think without guardrails, move fast mentality might end up being destructive. I especially, again, think about people in sort of what I call critical roles, the research, the manufacturing, to move fast or to move deliberately. What's your take?
Ken, that's a great question. And it relies on where the company is in terms of their maturity level within tech or innovation, and understanding what change means, adoption means, and improving things within your organization. I will tell you my opinion, though. For me, I definitely always move slow. I believe, and I'm a firm believer. Sorry, I am a firm believer that the science around all this work, these AIs, these models, these optimizations that are being implemented, they've been around for years. The math has been there. The arms race is understanding how you apply the math, how you apply the process, and how you make a difference within your organization, and choosing the tool that's right for you. That tool could be using Excel. That tool could be using SAP HANA. Quite frankly, whatever the tool is, you have to sit down and make sure that when you productionalize the output, it's standard and it's able to scale. In what I've just shared with you, the company definitely needs a governance program so that no biases, or when biases do come into play, I shouldn't say no biases, because quite frankly, there always will be a bias. There are humans that are at each touch point that can make suggestions, interpretations, or even stop what's occurring. Because moving at the speed of AI is great, but if you don't understand the implications of what it is that you're doing, you can cause more damage than good.
So, Achille, I'm going to go ahead and recap. Number one, if I'm understanding, people and culture have to be mentally primed for AI. On one hand, I think we do need at this point to have people who are open-minded enough and curious enough to already be exploring AI or to take the leap and to do it. Then there's the company culture that encourages this exploration. I'd say finally, it sounds like we need a program to audit where AI can be used. We're auditing processes. We're auditing existing technology. We're auditing the value that we want to deliver to customers. We are looking at new AI technology, and we're saying, is there a process where this AI technology can benefit us? Maybe even we're looking at a process that's not working correctly and saying, could we fix it? Could the AI technology inspire a new process that could do better than what we currently have? So, all of these things are sort of in play. If we have these sorts of thoughts, the people, the culture, the process audit, evaluating technology, there's at least a plan or some foundations of a strategy. There's an agreed upon end goal or vision of what AI might look like.
Yeah, listen, you're spot on.
For a viewer or a listener who's hearing this right now and thinking to themselves, man, I've really been wanting to do something like this, or I've really been wanting to expand the use of AI that's already going on, but they just really don't know the first step to get some interest. What would you recommend for this person that when they go into work tomorrow, they might be able to generate some interest or to take the first step?
For me, I'm a roll up your sleeves and dive in and start learning. And I would tell you that um, learning and making progress at 1% a day or moving slowly definitely builds a strong foundational understanding of what AI can do and what it can't do. Because quite frankly, there are a lot of definitions or a lot of people suggesting or talking about the things that it can do and it just can't today. I'm sure we're getting there, by the way. And the more you sit down, whether it's through an online course, looking at some YouTubes, going to some type of formal type education to understanding the ability or the what's under the hood with respect to AI, you have a choice of becoming a generalist and going wide within different industries, or you can literally hone in on a certain piece. I'm going to say automation, and you can go really deep. And that could be the suggestions that I made today with respect to voice modeling, which is pretty hot right now, and I gave the example of doing interviews and taking orders for procurement, whether it's a drive-through or a McDonald's, quite frankly. Or it's a situation where you're using ChatGPT and you're automating tasks to understand who's in your marketplace and if there's anything that you could be doing to put your situation in a better place. The possibilities are endless. My family uses it informally to help plan our vacations, and it's become quite the tool to give us suggestions on what would work best for us. So the possibilities or the art of the possible is endless right now. We are truly at the beginning of the next revolution on how things are going to be done.
Who do you think is an example of a person or company doing AI really well? And on the flip side, who's doing it fairly wrong?
um, that's interesting. Without listen, I think all the major tech firms are doing AI right, but I do think they have the budget, and they've been thinking like this for a number of years. It's just come to mainstream right now. I think a lot of the investment firms and banks that have the funding are doing things right. I would suggest I think they have capabilities to implement AI tools within their businesses, but quite frankly can't because of regulatory issues. And that's private business as well. So large enterprise, I think, have it right. So I think there's regulatory issues that hold people back in actually launching the technology or launching what it is that they want to do. And that goes into things about the right to be forgotten or where who owns the data and those type of issues that will probably take some time for society to figure it out. Who's gotten it wrong? That's a tough question because I don't necessarily know how many people would come out and say they've gotten it wrong. But I know that there are situations or there are instances of certain organizations being taken out or being put offline because some automations that they put in place aren't working. And some of that deals with situations where you have offshore call centers that are supporting businesses within North America. Others are hospital networks that bought the package, took it out of the box, implemented it, but didn't really think it through and haven't really honed in on what that governance program looks like. Hard for me to name someone directly, but I would tell you that those are instances or examples that I'm familiar with, and I'm sure there's many more.
2 lightning questions. I'm just going to fire them off at you, Achille. Give me your hot take, your personal opinion, whatever you'd like. DeepSeek. What are your feelings about it? I know it's been causing quite a lot of talk recently. I'd just like to know where you weigh in on DeepSeek. Number 2, OpenAI has just launched Deep Research. How do you feel about Deep Research?
It's a good question because I'm definitely working a little bit with both of them. And here's my preliminary view. The arms race, or the world, is looking at what tools can come into play within society so that they can make a better world for everybody. And it's interesting how DeepSeek has come out of nowhere and provided a similar, if not viable, solution that OpenAI has provided. Whether the information within China is stored in China, or whether the data is taken from a different country, I really can't speak to that. But I will tell you, whatever tool you decide to use, you need to understand what the safety guardrails are. And so there are things you can do to protect yourself, so that you're not putting yourself in a situation where whatever data you're using, within your organization or personally, is put out there for people to do whatever it is that they would like. Google's research lab, I think is very powerful. I think the model is probably one of the most sophisticated ones that are out there. But I also believe that it's only been released because of what DeepSeek has shown the world. And I think more of these innovations will come into play faster as time progresses, to see who wins that arms race. So exciting times. I'm hesitant because I need to spend time learning the models and understanding the biases, or what it is that they're doing differently than the models that were published beforehand for my particular usage. Someone else may have a different experience and may need that level of, call it, sophistication, or that deep analytic view that, quite frankly, for my applications, I haven't seen any.
So when we talk again in the future, I'd really like to learn more about your take on how users can protect data and apply what you call the safety guardrails. Until that time, I'll just ask this. Is there anything simple or anything that's a no-brainer that AI customers can do to try to ensure at least a minimal level of data security or protection when they get started evaluating software?
Listen, table stakes, you definitely would want some technology to help you manage the governance. Absolutely. But I also would suggest having a council or a few people around the table to review what the impacts are for the integration of data points from stack to stack. You may think something is flowing a certain way, and it may not. And there are certain variables, or there are certain changes within your current environment that may cause a change within the model that you may not be aware of. I'm not suggesting that the AI agent or the bots are going to be chatting with one another and conspiring, but if you are making decisions on revenue and optimization, or you're making decisions that will impact the ROI within your business, you owe it to yourself to build out this governance fabric within your organization to protect yourself and those around it.
As a final question, The Digital Advantage: Success Strategies for Harnessing People, Culture, and Technology. Achille, this is your first book. How do you feel?
It's been a long journey, Nathaniel. I'm pretty proud of the work that's gone into it, and excited to hear what other people think about the work that's involved. I've been very fortunate within my career to work with some of the top thought leaderships around the world, and that's kind of helped shape how I view things. But this book is literally a tool for you to leverage so that you can make better decisions within your organization.
As we say our goodbyes, I just wanted to share a quick story of appreciation from our Chief Marketing Officer at Predictum, Sean Smith. Achille, you need no introduction to Sean Smith. After all, the two of you have been close friends for quite a number of years. Sean mentioned that he was proud to be by your side when you started this journey of being an AI and analytics thought leader. And of course, this was 12 years ago at the SaaS Global Conference in Las Vegas. He was just sharing that the two of you were sitting together, you were watching the keynote speaker, and as you were watching, he mentions that the light went on for you. And you said, "Hey, I can do this." I'm seeing quite literally in real time that your trajectory is going the way that Achille from 12 years ago maybe hoped it would. So I just want to say congratulations from me for everything you've accomplished so far and ask you, since 12 years ago at the SaaS conference up until today, how has your path gone since then? And what's ahead on the road for you?
It's funny. I think I remember that day with Sean, and there were many more days. I think it's gone very well. I've been doing this for quite a long time because it's been a passion of mine, and I just find my skill set, or quite frankly, my curiosity leads me to continue to learn and invoke on this path and build upon what I've done from a corporate level to where I am today. I also think that there's a lot more that I can learn, and I think that there's a lot more innovation that's going to come across humanity over the next few years. I'm not only excited for me, but I'm excited for what my children will see, or everyone, within the next 5 to 10 years, because one thing I can guarantee is that it will be different. I'm excited to see it.
Achille Ettorre, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Nathaniel. I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun.